Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday morning where we are as reckless as can be. You can see by the purple tags that we yesterday, had a recording of drinking inside the box.
That is right.
That's why. But hey, putting in overtime hours as always over here is Kazi. What's going on?
Oh, good, mate. Yes, good. I think everything's all right as a Liverpool fan at the moment, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's no complaints.
Yeah,
Everything's
not too
going our
shabby.
way a little
Not
bit.
too shabby. I mean, what do you make of? That's what I was going to ask you first. I'm sure you guys saw. I wasn't able to listen to live, so I'm going to be listening to last night's show sometime today. But the Spurs draw, where are you at with that, real quick?
I think it's perfect for Liverpool. I think it's the perfect draw. I think I was so happy with the draw, to be honest. I am really happy with the other tie as well. Really happy that Arsenal have to go their second leg to St James's Park when they haven't won a trophy in 50 years. To go and have a second leg of a semi-final at St James's Park on a Wednesday in the early February sounds like hell on earth. So I am really pleased, and playing the second leg back at Anfield against a team who can leak goals consistently. Of course, it can punish you the other way.
Yes, that's definitely the scary part. Yeah,
they can punish you, and I get that. I understand that, but they also do continuously leak goals. They will always find a way to do things the hard way, Spurs, which we figured that out on Thursday night. They will if any way that they want to make things hard for themselves, Spurs will definitely try that way.
I mean, yeah, I didn't even see that coming. That was just some horrific
keeping.
I mean, literally, I was actually happy it turned out that way because it looked like it was too easy. I'm like, oh, great. Now everybody's going to come out on the 55th minute because I kind of wanted everybody to keep, like Bissouma, Sarr, all these guys keep running, get tired legs compared to Sunday kind of thing. When it became 3-0, I was like, oh, man, this is going to be way too easy for him. And then enter Forster into the action, just literally giving away to him. I mean, United wasn't playing that bad, actually, even in the first half, but they had no way they were getting into the game otherwise.
Have you seen a performance from two keepers in the same game be as bad as that? Like, they were both shit, weren't they? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Altay's error in the first goal, like, what is that? Like, I mean, I understand maybe he didn't see it or whatever, but at least punch it away, not like just, it looked like it bounced away from. Did you see the moments? I went on air to a show, actually, thanks to them behind Reds, so I got to give him the thanks over here. So they did really made an appearance over there. They have this special series going on where they're featuring different Liverpool content creators, and they roll the dice and have us as the first episode, which is really huge risk to take. But during the show, constant pushing, we are finally over 1,000 subscribers, actually 1,004 or something like that this morning. Yes, so finally went over the edge, even way before Christmas. But anyway, we were talking with him too. Did you see the moment where I think it's 3-2? There is a shot that he saves with his feet. It looked like a pickup game where the goalie didn't show up and you put like a dude in goal. That's the only way you save a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird dipping shot, but still, yeah. It forces a big guy. Maybe he couldn't get down to his feet that quick. You know what I mean? Like, he couldn't get his body out the way, maybe, and he's had to do it. But I suppose as a keeper, you stop it anyway means necessary. Whatever part of your body, you stop it.
I mean, he was waiting for it like a player in goal. Like, he didn't have.
It is weird to see. It's weird to see at top level. It is weird to see. Like, what? At top level, you don't see that. You know what I mean? But no, yeah. And again, and the other big positive for this draw is, mate, James Maddison and Sarr are both suspended for the first leg of the semi-final.
That's nice.
So that is a nice little bonus for Liverpool as well. We had a chat about it yesterday.
Why is it that the yellow cards? This is why it's so goddamn confusing. So yellow card accumulation counts there, but the red card counts.
Yeah. So the yellow card accumulation from the league would count against the sending off would count to into the League Cup. But it's not the other way around. It's super weird. I don't know how it all works.
Yeah, it just makes zero
sense. For example, Maddison and Sarden would be suspended for this, but they're not because they haven't had enough.
Yeah.
It's all a bit weird, but Yeah, and again, I think the draw's perfect. I think the timing of the first leg, what people are saying, we can just go in there and throw Endo in and stuff, that won't work like that for Liverpool in this game. So it's probably going to be played on the 6th of February. So they're probably going to move the 6th of January, I think. So they're
January,
probably
I think, yes.
Yeah, they're going to move the United game. So it's probably going to be West Ham, the Spurs game in the first leg, and then Accrington Stanley. So it makes sense that you go fully strength in the first team for that game, the first leg, then do your rest for Accrington Stanley kind of thing. So I don't think there's been as many changes as what people might assume they might be. I think Liverpool will go full strength for that first leg.
I just like the fact that I always, in any two leg, I always want the first one away. I think that even without, with the away goals thing gone, I think that's so. When you have a home field advantage the way we do, I think I always want the first game away, because whatever score you come with, you can kind of be like, this is what we need. And the fans and the crowd knows what you need going into it and stuff like that. And honestly, the way they play, this is a leg that you can be halfway there after the first leg, just because of the way they play.
There's a chance here, like I said this yesterday, and listen, I've got full respect for Spurs. I think they have one of the best attacks in the league. I think Kulusevski might be my favorite player in the league, apart from a Liverpool player. Like, I respect him so highly, but there's a chance that Liverpool can go there in the first leg and beat them 3-0.
Yeah,
that could happen because it's the way they play. You know what I mean? I actually think, going back to our game this weekend, of course, which ties into this, they went from the City game and they beat them 4-0 the week after they lost to Ipswich at home. Now, I do think that the Thursday could be their very big high, and then you could catch them on the low end on this weekend, and you might be able to catch them and they're a bit weird again, and they don't know where they're coming, and then Liverpool are just going to come there and could beat them. You know what I mean? And I think that the timing of that win for them, those last two games, are really good for Liverpool.
I think so too. I kind of like the timing. One, they just played yesterday. We played Wednesday, and even when we played Wednesday, half of our starters did not even play, so they're going to be at full rest, and that's literally at least half your starters, right? You got Ali, Robo, Diaz.
The team that finished the Southampton game, none of them will start on the weekend. Maybe McAllister, that's it. That's the only one. Who finished the Southampton game will only start. I don't see Gakpo starting. I don't see Nunes starting. You know what I mean? I don't see Elliott starting. So only one who finished the game, mate, will probably play on the weekend.
Yeah, and that's huge, I think. Yeah. I just hope it doesn't. I mean, it's not going to backfire, I guess, but I just hope it pays off. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Which, like we talked about it in the post-match too. I mean, that cup game, I mean, it was pretty impressive to be able to just trot out your back, U23 out there and still beat a Premier League team. Ultimately, I don't care how bad they are; they're ultimately still a Premier League team. I think the good thing with Spurs is when it's a two-leg, I mean, you're guaranteed to have one of them as the bad Spurs, even if you get one of them as the good Spurs. So there's that, right? I mean, you're going to catch them on one of their bads as well.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think there's a part as well, Omi, for this League Cup now. Because what we've done in the Champions League, it's kind of opened it up for us, January, a little bit. January looks congested. But when you actually look at it, you think, well, there's 3 or 4 games there where the first teams don't really need to play. Do you know what I mean? They could actually have a big rest to really kick on February time, especially if you're in a League Cup final, which is in the middle of March. You could have your rests in January to get them ready to go. Do you know what I mean? And go, right, lads, we're in all 4 comps, and here we go from February onwards. That's what's winning the other 5 Champions League, 6 Champions League games is really flexible for now for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? You're playing against Lille and PSV away, and I think genuinely, if you start the team that played against Southampton, could probably still get over the line against those 2 sides anyway. So yeah, it's kind of opened up a little bit for us, Tim. As long as we get out to basically out of the West Ham game, the next 3 league games, get out to the West Ham game with no blood, and we just win our 3 games, it really opens up January for us now.
And I feel like going away to Spurs this weekend, I mean, that game can go either way, right? But I think you have a good point. A team that goes up and down, just had a huge up. And not to mention more tired legs. So they're not going to get their center backs back. So that defending is going to be same. And they are so freaking open back there, man. It is just ridiculous the way they play. So you just need that's why I kind of like Jota in this game. to draw those center backs all over the place. And then once you have a lead, then you can throw Nunez at them to run behind them as well. But initially, I think if our front three can play their game and have a decent game, I think you can focus the rest on defending and still beat the Spurs, because that's how they open. They are in the back, but they are kind of dangerous as well. They can get goals in a hurry. Like they can get 1, 2, 3, like back to back to back, really hurry. They do have this though. Like I'll ask you that. Do you feel like going away to Spurs is almost fine, because not totally Arsenal-like, but because the fans are used to the up and down, the moment things go south, everything gets deflated in that place. Looks like, they're like, it's a down one this week. And then, there's no bringing the team back or anything like that, because they almost know when they go to the game, let's see which one we get. And then if it becomes 1-0, 2-0 early for ours, they're going to be like, shit, this is a bad one then. And that's it. It's like they're kind of almost used to the up and down of the team. Whereas if you go away to like, Newcastle, for example, it doesn't matter if you're still up 2, the crowd is still kind of in the game.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a good point, because they kind of know themselves if they go 1 or 2-0 down, like, it's one of those kind of days and it's one of those kind of things. I suppose the one thing for Spurs is, mate, and again, I watch a lot of Spurs because they are entertaining. It's actually one of the ones I still kind of want to tune in for 90 minutes when I watch Premier League games, because they are a bit of a laugh. The biggest game this week for them was United at home. That should be their biggest. They haven't won a trophy since 2008. Yeah. United at home should have been their biggest game, and that's why I feel like you're catching them on that low. Like, you prepare for United. There's no resting players. We have to win a trophy. We have to, this is quarterfinal of any trophy. Spurs should be all out to win.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now you're in, so I just feel like you're catching them. And also, I mentioned this yesterday on the Thursday podcast. I'm going to use a boxing analogy a little bit. That styles make fights. And I think styles make games. And I think their style is just so suited for Liverpool to pick them off. I think Pedro Porro, who I really like as a fullback, by the way, I think he's really, really good. But he takes liberties defensively.
He's a Trent kind of right back, isn't he? Like, he's really good going forward.
Yeah, I think he's more lackadaisical defensively. I really do.
Even more than Trent? That's more low.
I mean, in terms of, we at least Trent tries to get back. I think Porro's very much like, do you know what I mean? My centre half will win it, ping a 40-yarder to me, and I'm in the 6-yard box. And I think that's how, you know what I mean? And I'm his biggest fan, by the way. I love Pedro Porro.
Yeah.
But I do think there's an outlet ball where Liverpool can draw them in a little bit on the press, give it to Trent, and Trent can just ping a 60-yard diag to Diaz, and Diaz is in 15 yards of space, 20 yards of space just to run into. And I do think that could be Liverpool's outlet all game. That could be Liverpool's way home. He's just doing a big, long diag and hitting them on the counter, and then getting the smart, good players around them. So, again, I think styles make fights. I really do. And I do think that this is a game which should be tailor-made for Liverpool. And also, Tim, going back to a bigger conversation around Liverpool, there's no more excuses. You've had a week off. You've had a week off against Everton. You've had another week off. Yeah. I don't want to hear tiredness. I don't want to hear it now. This is the most time off that those lads have had in fucking years. At this stage of the season. At this stage of the season, they haven't had this much time off. We won the League Cup last year, so we were in the game. A couple of years before, we won the League Cup and the FA Cup, so we had these games anyway. No. There's no more excuses. You've had your time off. Now it's time to kick on. Because I think this is a big game for Liverpool, not just in terms of the result. Of course, every league game's big. But I was talking yesterday on the Thursday podcast, lads. Luis Diaz, he hasn't scored in 10 league games.
Really?
10. The Bayer Leverkusen game throws you off. He hasn't scored in 10 league games.
That's right. And he started the season like he was going to end up with like 20, 25 goals or something too.
He scored 5 and 5. And by the way, two of those games were braces. So technically, he's only scored in 3 games out of the 15 in the league. I want more on my left winger. If I'm, you know what I mean? Because I can see Cody Gakpo. I think he scored 3 and 6 with the minutes he's been getting in his last 6. I think he scored 3 important goals. By the way, I think he scored against City. I think he scored last week against Fulham.
Yes.
I think he scores against City as well. He scores against Brighton at home, which we won 2-1. It was tight and close, but he scores. So he's scoring important goals, and I just feel like for Diaz here, come on, fella, now we need you to step up now. You haven't scored in 10 league games. That's not good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to him, he has played like out of position in some of those because Gakpo was on the left, he was in the center and stuff like that. I mean, I just comparing him to last year. I think he has been a lot more effective. There were a lot of times last year where he would just jump into three guys and lose the ball. So even though, like, that's why it's a shocker when you throw that stat out, because I feel like overall his game has been a lot more effective and produced more. I guess in like a final like product kind of a deal compared to a season before where he would kind of get lost or he would get past two guys, but the pass would be terrible and stuff like that. Last year, I feel like this year he has been contributing, even if he's not scoring. So that is in the house. Long time no see. Since life is like a box of chocolates, you never know which Spurs you're gonna get. Yeah, hopefully it will be the ones that we throw away. It is a big game. I mean, we normally talk about like the pre-match press conference, but I'll be honest, it was I just read the transcript before we went on air, and it was very like tame and vanilla.
Like standard answers. It was not entertaining in there. The one thing he says, which I thought was quite interesting, is that he mentioned Darwin, and he said the one complaint that we had a couple of weeks ago is that he doesn't get the numbers. And then in his last two games, he's had an assist and a goal. So he mentioned that because he has. And again, I don't even want to talk about Darwin today. All I'm saying is that hopefully now, okay, you've got a couple. You know what I mean? There's a goal, there's an assist. Let's go. Again, we're in the business end of the season now. There's no more jokes. Liverpool have a really tough run coming up in terms of we dropped the points against Fulham, we dropped points against Newcastle. We can't afford any more drop points. That's what I mean by a tough run. You have to win the next 6 probably or the next 5 to really get yourself established, and that's why I think this weekend's fixtures could really open things up for Liverpool.
Yeah, that's why we figured like we kind of like go over. There's some like really good games that almost tempt you to wake up early, but no way in hell that's happening. Kind of situations. So especially for you, it's even like earlier for you over there. But yeah, he didn't say a whole lot, right? I mean, they asked him a lot of Spurs games. Sometimes these press conferences, the questions asked just you wonder, like, did you even like, do you have the same pad that you bring to every press conference and just cross out the team name and put the other team in there? And that's look, I got my questions ready kind of thing. It's kind of a shocker. And I know they're not going to get too technical. I don't even know if they're giving certain guidelines to ask or whatever, but it just feels like you look at some of the questions asked, you're like,
well, most of it off the Anfield Wrap fame. He's been in the press conferences this year, and you can see he enjoys his question. Yeah. When he goes, you should be a manager and stuff like that, because he knows the tactical side of the game. And then Slot will give him a tactical answer back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I
bet you like Slot is like, oh, thank God, somebody has talking football.
He has some research. He's done some research into my team and done some research into how we play, because he must be a fan, and gives him a really good answer back. I remember a couple of years ago, a Klopp press conference, someone asked him a super tactical question, and Klopp broke it down of how he wanted the team to press. Yeah. And it was also a 4-minute answer to a question, because I wanted to do this and it was like, lads, just ask him the right question and he'll give you a really great answer.
I'm sure like they're almost like, thrilled to get those questions. Like how you, like if you ever do a training session, there's some questions that you get, you're like, oh my God, are you serious, dude? Like, and then you just like answer those, but then there are some they're like, thank God, somebody, and then it kind of like gets the trainer going too. And I wish they would do more of those instead of just asking. Yeah, I mean, it's like research, and I think it's things that fans actually wonder or would want to, or let me put it this way. I don't want to say intelligent fan, but the educated fan or the fan who is really into the tactics and stuff would want to know about in terms of like the answers. Do I really want to know? I mean, those answers, he probably already has his head. He just has to press play when he walks in there. They're like, what do you think about Tottenham style? Press play, and then you're just gonna like spit it out because he already knew that was coming. Some of these are like really beach ball questions. He's just like pounding them back because it's not really, it's easy ones.
The most of it one today off the Anfield Wrap, he mentioned about Diaz playing in the 9. I said, do you see him as a valuable option there? He said, because now you got Jota back and he scores last week in the 9 and Darwin scored. You know what I mean? Do you still see Diaz as an option there? And the one question he said, which I didn't notice, he said, he said to him, you said Jota scored last week in the 9. He said he wasn't playing in the 9. He was midfield last week. And I was like, was my head just completely gone through that game because I was losing my fucking mind?
Well, he did front 4 in a way, but the fourth guy was more like almost high roll.
Yeah, maybe more like 8 to 10, which I didn't see because maybe I was just losing my mind too much in the game. And anyone could have played anywhere at the time. I didn't care. Or maybe I wasn't like tactically like looking at the games the way of like people were. And I was like, I thought that was interesting that he did try that. Like, and he does say it again in the press conference. Like, is that a way home in another game where he might go, we're chasing a game, I'm going to put Jota in the 8? Do you know what I mean? Maybe, like, I don't know, because he says it in the presser. It's interesting. I thought it was interesting.
I think he has that option of, like, so if we're chasing a game and he wants to go, he basically, that's what he did. You can go 4 up top.
Yeah.
And the 4th guy is Jota, being, because you can't play Nunez there, but you can play Jota in that Szoboszlai role. And then you almost have 2 8s, if you will. Like, instead of having double pivots, you have 2 8s, one bit more defensive, one another striker, ultimately with like a 6 behind them kind of a deal.
Or did he just do that because he didn't fancy Elliott getting all those minutes? I don't know. Because Elliott could be that option for him as well.
Elliott's going to be an interesting one, man. I'm like, I love the kids, and I know, like, I love what he does. It's just like what his role is going to be. I really can't put my finger on it because he's so different than Szoboszlai. And what Szoboszlai does good, Elliott does not really have. But what Szoboszlai doesn't have, Elliott does have.
Exactly. But isn't that nice, though, to have both options, though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think personally, I think I would like to see Elliott start against the bottom 12 at home, especially
at home. Yes.
Especially at home.
But I would hate to see him, for example, start this game against Spurs away.
Agreed. I would say if you were going to Leicester away, I think I don't mind an Elliott starting in that 8 role, or a 10 role kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't mind that for Elliott in those games. I definitely think there's certain games where if Liverpool don't have 75% of the ball, I would much rather Harvey Elliott be on the pitch than Szoboszlai, because if someone's going to play a back 5 against us, I would rather him just picking his little passes and his little jinky runs and kind of stuff like that. But I agree with you. Away from home, most games, 16 games of the season away from home, I would need Szoboszlai, because there's no one else who can run like him. I'm not Szoboszlai's biggest fan, on the ball especially, but off the ball, he is so important for Liverpool. He is super,
because he does that running with speed and strength. And that's the thing. Like, he can chase down a dude and eventually shoulder him down to, like, get the ball away kind of a deal. Whereas Elliott is not going to do that. He's going to harass that dude, but he's never going to shoulder him off the ball or, like, physically push him off the ball kind of a deal. I think you get that from Szoboszlai. One interesting thing he said is, I put this on the Discord chats. I think it was like 15, 20 minutes into the game. And I'm like, man, I feel bad for Elliott this game, because it reminds me of the days that we used to throw Curtis on the wing and you wouldn't get out of it. I mean, even he said that, Elliott was kind of getting bored out there and out of the game, and he kind of swapped. He kind of pushed Nioni out to the wing a bit more and got Elliott more into the game. And that's really when things changed a lot more, which I love Nioni. I love how he plays. That kid, he doesn't have the strength yet. So hopefully, if he has the change that Morton did, like growing like a couple of feet and getting like another 30 pounds or whatever, I think he's going to be unreal. But right now, he's smart enough to know what his options are as he receives the ball, and he can play it like really quick. But you could tell kind of he was double thinking every pass, but that's not natural when you get your first start.
I didn't think Nioni was great, but he's also a 17-year-old kid, and he's playing in his first proper game. I don't expect him to be, you've got to be super, super special to be, an elite kind of game there. So, but the kid clearly has a lot of talent, like a lot of talent. And is he going to be a viable option for Liverpool this season? Probably not. That's probably his last game for Liverpool. He might play Accrington Stanley, maybe. But unless Liverpool draw some bums in the FA Cup, he's probably not going to play.
I feel like he will, because he's in the Champions League squad, so he can be thrown out there for like 20 minutes or something like that in the game.
Yeah.
I don't see him starting, but
no, definitely not. And again, he has a lot of potential. But as you just said, the Morton one's a really good case and study. Harvey Elliott's a good case and study. Harvey Elliott came back from Blackburn wider, not taller, but just wider. It's like filled out. And he was like, I've been getting battered by championship defenders here.
Yeah, got like a little bit like Shaqiri-like, right? Like
not wider. Like, you know what I mean? He went out and just went dink and put muscle on. So I do think there's case in point for a loan move for Nioni as well. But I also think with loan moves, it has to be the right manager with the right team playing the right style. There's no point in people just loan into them, and you're like, you don't play that way. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go out there so they can suit his style of play, and that's why the Morton one and the Elliott one. Funny enough, Blackburn could be because they looked after the other two. They could call Blackburn and go, "Do you want to take this kid and do the same again?" Do you know what I mean for the year? kind of thing, and that could be an option as well for him.
I mean, yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, then people are like, he was killing it in championship. I guess he's a championship player. No, I mean, that system suited him better, so he was killing it over there. So it's just, yeah, I'm torn with this over like the loaning thing. Because let's face it, when Klopp was around, unless they were really, really, really young, if we loaned them out, it pretty much meant, yeah, the same working. Like he kept the dudes that he felt like, needed tuning and, like molding and stuff like that. Very rare, like Elliot, if they were really young, they would go. But, most of the guys we loaned out, once we loaned them out, they were pretty much, we were just loaning them out so that we can get a better fee for them. So they get more exposure.
He loaned Div, didn't he? He loaned Div to Wolfsburg, didn't he? But Div El-Kharigi was in his plans until the Everton injury. He couldn't get him back in because the front three went on to be the front three.
Yeah.
So he loans him to Wolfsburg. He has a horrific time at Wolfsburg.
Yeah, he did brutal over.
And then, you know what I mean? So you are right, though. It was a thing with Klopp where if you were loaned out, it was kind of like, we're just trying to get a move for you here a little bit. That's why the writing was on the wall for Carvalho, unfortunately. So
I think so, too. I mean, Carvalho's thing was like he had a shot at it when Slot came back, but that kid thinks he's a lot better than he actually is. I mean, he's a good player and everything like that, but man, you got to know. And I feel like there's so many examples on this team. He could have looked at Elliott and be like, hey, this is what I got to do to get minutes, to get, time and stuff like that, develop slowly. But I really think he feels like he should be penciled in. You might be, I mean, you're not even penciled in at freaking, so you're definitely not going to be penciled in at like Liverpool. So I don't know. Like when a guy that is age, I was on a live call-in show and we got into it with like an older gentleman there because he was a bit more old school. But I don't know, when a guy his age says, I play here, I do this, blah, 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 without getting any minutes. And I'm like, dude, you got to know yourself and you got to say, sometimes you got to be like, hey, I'll do whatever to show my value, blah, 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 and earn your spot, as opposed to like, you're not going to powder and get your way. You're not that good. I mean, you can't go around like Mbappe when you're Carvalho. It's just that doesn't work like that. And I think that's what happened with that kid. But good luck to him. He could have he actually missed.
I think he could be a top player, by the way. I still think he could be a really top player, but it's just not right now.
Yeah, 5 years down the road, you might be. But I just don't know. Do you think he'll ever be a top player in the Premier League?
Good question. It could be like a Suso, where he goes.
I think like down the road, he was like, oh, you turned out to be pretty decent, but it's not going to be in the Premier League.
Exactly, maybe that, like a Suso. Plays for the top, like a big club in the Champions League, but it's not in the Premier League. And I think that, like a Luis Alberto, same kind of thing. Has a really good, Lazio has a really good career, and Suso has a really good career at AC Milan and players like that. And he could be like one of those, maybe, but it's a
good example. I mean, I do not agree with that because I feel like Harry Wilson is a good player. Yeah. He's just not good enough.
Exactly.
Like you can be a good player, but you could be not good. If Harry Wilson was that good, he would be starting.
There's about
he would be a guaranteed starter there. He's not. He's like
there's only about 30 players in the world who can improve Liverpool.
Yeah, and that's that's fine.
That's the problem, and that's fine, by the way. And it doesn't mean that they're bad players. Look at Dominic Solanke, for example.
Yeah,
he goes on a £60 million move to Spurs, and he's playing really well for Spurs. I think he's had quite a few goals now, actually, because he's kind of got to get them together. So that's fine. And just seen Bryce's comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same situation, though, right? I mean, Mignolet is a good goal.
No, we were talking. So after that, so I'll give you some little behind-the-scenes action here. After our Thursday podcast, me, Macher, and Brian had like a 30-minute chat just about the Reds and just got onto Simon Mignolet a little bit. And we brought up the video Gerrard slip of Mignolet should save that in my lifetime. I will die on that hill. Mignolet has to save it. And Brian Macher hadn't seen that for, of course, a long time, that goal. And when we played it back, to them, they were like, fuck me, that is a horrific keeping. And it's really bad. So yeah, that's why that comment just made me laugh there. But yeah, but no, again, it's fine for these players to move on. Solanke, again, is the big case in point. But it's also, I always think about this with players, Tim, I'll get your thoughts here. When you're sitting down with a young player, say, can you come to Liverpool? You need case studies. You go, well, what have you done with young players in the past?
Yeah.
And you go, well, yeah, it didn't work. So, for example, Solanke's a great case point. It didn't work out for us. But he's went on, had been a brilliant Premier League player, and now he's playing for England and stuff like that because we got him the right move. And I think sometimes that has to be a selling point for younger players to go, well, what have you done with him? Well, it didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for Carvalho. We've got to move to Brentford, who's a really middle-of-the-road Premier League club, and for 27 million quid, and he's on great money, and blah, blah, blah. And, or if you are good enough, well, look at Conor Bradley. Or if you look at Curtis Jones and you look at Harvey Elliott, then you get reps and you get starts and you're a part of these amazing moments. So I think sometimes when you have younger players, there has to be a selling point when you sit down with them. It's not like, oh, you go to Brighton first. No, come to Liverpool first. Don't need to go to Brighton, just come to Liverpool now. Do you know what I mean? And you have to have case studies in place.
I think that's for like a certain age bracket, though, and for guys that are maybe mostly here, right? Yeah. Because I feel like I look at, for example, Ferdi, right? Ferdi Kadıoğlu, who went from Fenerbahçe to like Brighton. I feel like if he comes to Liverpool, he could get lost in the mix. I feel the same for Altay, for example, who had a horrific game for United yesterday. He's not that bad of a goalie. He has like an error in him, and that was the reason why. I mean, from being a starter at that young age, he played a ton of games for Fenerbahçe at a young age. But I think he's a guy that could go to, I don't know, like a Bournemouth or somewhere like that, and he's like a Pickford kind of dude. You know what I mean? He's going to make some ridiculous saves, and then he's going to concede some stupid goals and stuff like that. But he will be a regular there. Sometimes when you go to a big team and you're going there knowing you're a backup, it can really curb where the hell you're going to go. If you went there for like 15, 20, 30 million kind of a deal. Whereas I think if you're a young dude, like 17, 18, 19, then you can say, yeah, look at Trent, look at Curtis, look at Elliott and stuff like that, and kind of lure that guy into. And worst case scenario, yeah, you can say this is what you can do. You can still get that move.
Yeah.
If you want to, you'll be on the.
You can go to Brighton in 3 years if it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? We'll still get you that move. We can still get you to those clubs. And I think that I always think that's a really good selling point. You've got to show kids how you look after the kids in your squad and how you took care of them and how you've, matured them, for example. Because the selling point, again, the Solanke case is he was behind Bobby Firmino, for 12 months, and Mo Salah and Mane. He knows what professionalism is all about. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's what, as a young kid.
And I think that's on the player, right? You look at Brewster, and I know he got unlucky and stuff like that, or maybe he was just a product of that team. You and I could have played 9 in there and looked pretty decent, maybe. I don't know, like the Mo and Mane, we would have we were like, he's not that bad. But, he didn't have the same thing afterwards. I know he had injuries and stuff like that, but sometimes on the player too, how you take that next move and deal with it. I think Solanke took that move, maybe because he was already at Chelsea, then he came here and stuff like that. But I think he took that move to prove people wrong, as opposed to, I wasn't good enough for Liverpool, which I think he earns himself another move.
Exactly, and he was in Liverpool for a year, and Liverpool got good money for him, of course. But the other case in point is Nico Williams. Yeah, like he's Forest are 4th in the league. He's playing for a good Premier League club. He's wearing the number 7 on his back at Nottingham Forest. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, we can get you those moves. I just think that's interesting with kids when you're trying to sell, as a selling point for these younger players who you're trying to bring into your squad. You need, for example, if you get other clubs like United, for example, and you go, we do really well with kids. Where's your case points then, fellas?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's only probably Garnacho or Amenu who are really standing out at the moment, because the rest of them, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes that's it's a good thing to have as a Liverpool, as the club, to sit down with other players and show, here's what we can do for you.
That, and I feel like stability has to be like, we always do this with my brothers. Like, if it was your son, I mean, I would rather have them go into like an environment where, like, you look at like college football and stuff like that, like college basketball and stuff. Like, if I'm sending you to a school, I want to make sure that dude is going to be there. Like, the guy that I'm sold to be your coach, manager, whatever, I want him to be there for a bit. So he's not gone a year later. Like, I put you in this program, right? And then he's gone a year later. You're like, I mean, you send your kid you signed to United as a kid.
Yeah.
With what's going on, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, this guy could go, then the other guy, like, you fit perfectly now, but what's going to happen in 6 months? What's going to happen a year down the road? Whereas I feel like one thing Liverpool has is you can give stability and say, I mean, now when you come to Liverpool, if you fit the system, if you can work with Slot, you're good for like 3-4 years. And I think that stability has to be a huge thing. Like, you talk about Spurs, for example, you can play how Postecoglou plays. You can fit that system, but you don't know if that dude is going to be there next year. So why go there and then be like, oh shit, Sean Douche came here? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like now we got to defend all day now. I didn't sign up for this.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, again, it is interesting, and again, I suppose that's why the argument again, if you're Liverpool, is that I think we've had 8 permanent managers in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, you can go and find another club who's had that, because even United are catching up. Do you know what I mean? So, and they had one for 25 years, and even United are catching up.
Yeah.
So, I think, you know what I mean? I think that is a very good point as well, that you can have that argument and go, we give our managers time. So if you like the manager and you like the coach, mate, he's going to be here for 3-4 years as long as he's doing the bare minimums, which is challenging for the titles.
I mean, it's almost like when you tour the campus, when you come to Liverpool, this is what you're going to get. Whereas you can tour over there and then you come back 6 months later, you're like, what the hell happened? You guys tore down the summer over here.
Like, what happened in the summer? Fuck me, they're all gone. The dinner lady's gone.
Oh, that was just a commercial, man. Like,
Ineos is not giving Christmas bonuses out, so the fucking stewardess has quit. The receptionist has got off. I like this. She's nice. You know what I mean? I suppose that is a thing. Well, let's talk about
at the weekend games over here. A couple of good ones, man. Villa City.
I think every game's great.
If I don't get to sleep,
I'm loving every game. I'm loving every game. I love every single football match there, Tim. I think so. Go for the first one. Watch it get out of that game.
Villa City is an awesome watch.
On the early kickoff.
Goddamn early.
On the early kickoff. You know, like the one thing that City midfield does not need in their life is John McGinn. They cannot be asked with John McGinn just going, will you fuck off for 5 minutes? Like, you know what I mean? So, the one thing that these two teams have had, first time in a while, is a week off.
Yeah.
And they both look like they needed a week off.
They did.
In terms of Villa and City here. So, oh man, I don't think City win. I really don't. I think Villa gets something. I think Villa could win the game. I think I will probably, I don't want to say Villa are favourites, because Villa have very much been out of form. But again, it looks like Dave needed a week off. It looked like Morgan Rogers needed a week off. He looked tired, man. So that's an interesting game. And then if you want to just talk about the ones who are rivaling Liverpool, or you can talk about every other fucking game, because every other one's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the 9 o'clock games are West Ham, Brighton, Ipswich, Newcastle. That should be an interesting one. But Brentford, Forest. I mean, if I was watching one of those, I would probably want to see that. And then Derek, welcome aboard, sir. Do grab a cup of Joe, reckless cup of coffee, if you will.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, Arsenal. Both those. I mean, let's start with Palace, Arsenal. I almost kind of, when we were talking with Gordo on Wednesday, I was like, dude, they'll beat him in the cup, and then come weekend when they go away to Selhurst Park, it's going to be a totally different game, and I can see Palace getting something out of that.
So can I. Palace are unbeaten in the last 5 in the league. 1-2, drawn 3. I thought Palace were absolutely tremendous last week against Brighton away. I thought they were really, really good. And that's a big rivalry for them, by the way, for the American fans who don't know. Palace-Brighton is a massive, massive rivalry. It's not a derby. The Lights are very clear about that, but it's a huge rivalry. And they went there and convincingly beat Brighton.
Quick question to the US folks out there. Why?
I think it was based on there was a few controversial games down in the lower league that they had.
No. More about what I mean. I think people get confused when we call certain games derbies, right?
Yes.
The Arsenal, Tottenham, or Tottenham, Chelsea, and stuff like that. But then there's all these other London teams as well that people don't even realize that they are from London because they're not considered as much derby game. Is it just history that makes it a derby?
No, derby's location. Derby's location. It has to be close to you. You know, I don't call Manchester United a derby, even though they're only 30 miles away from Liverpool.
No. But I mean, that would be United City. But there are teams that play, that are London teams.
Yeah, London. They always call it a London derby, but they're not derbies. Like they just call
that's what I mean. Yeah, is it just a history that makes it?
I think it's good. Chelsea are kind of close, so that's a rivalry, but that's also rivalry / London derby. That's a big game, Spurs Chelsea. But Arsenal and Spurs is the North London derby, and that's what it should be. If it's actually a derby for Chelsea, it's actually Chelsea QPR, I think. That would be their derby, technically.
Aren't they with Fulham? Aren't they Chelsea, Fulham are Chelsea, rivalry, maybe not derby? That's what I mean. There's the thing with rivalry, and there's
closest one would be QPR, I think, for Chelsea. But yes, they have London. London confuses everyone, but London derbies is a thing. Let's say,
yeah,
it's like Liverpool, Chelsea. It's a massive rivalry because based on the previous games that they played.
But at least they're in different cities, so there's no reason to call it.
Brighton isn't by Palace. Brighton's miles away from Palace. Brighton's on the east coast of England. It's a good probably couple of hours away from Palace.
Speaking of the devil, there's Bajan Rez right there. The guys who helped us across the line. Good morning, sir.
But yes, so a derby is definitely location, but then a rivalry, of course. It's don't want to say it's like the Yankees and the Red Sox because they are kind of close, but you do get Celtic and the Lakers. It's a massive rivalry in
okay. So
based on previous games.
I mean, they don't have derbies over here. It's even like hard to compare.
It's difficult to watch. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult. Like again, if you're the TV companies and you say you can pick two teams in the NBA Finals, who do you want? It's Celtic, Lakers.
Oh, always.
Yeah. And that's like for example, if you say who do you want in the Champions League, it's Liverpool United. It just stops the world. Liverpool United, and that's the biggest game, and we all go from there. So the Palace Brighton one has been previous history. It's a massive game of football based on previous games that they've had. I think there was controversy. I think they played each other maybe in a playoff final as well. I think they've had those type of games. It smells to me it's a bit like Liverpool Chelsea, where we just played each other a lot in like a small space of time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And now we just fucking hate them.
But that just builds up rivalry. Like Sparky says, the derby is your closest teams. Like when I look at, for example, like in Turkey and the Turkish league, like it would be only like they try to say Trabzon. It's a different city, so that can't be a derby, right? That could be a rivalry, but not a derby. Yes. But when you look at Istanbul, it's only Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray, and Beşiktaş when they play each other. I consider it a derby. If they play, Kasımpaşa, Eyüp, other teams that are from Istanbul still, I don't consider that as like a derby because they're not big. They're just a game. You know what I mean? They're not even rivalries, to be honest with you, in most cases, because these are like newer clubs. But even if they were rivalries that you play them, like Istanbul Başakşehir, who did good in like Europe a couple of leagues ago.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not even a rivalry. It's just another Istanbul team. It's not a derby. That's why I find it interesting that there's a lot of London teams and that it's the same concept, but there's only some of them. You can have rivalries, you can hate each other, you can have a history, blah blah blah, but doesn't necessarily make it.
Yeah, like I think Sparky's right. They don't half blow it up. It's a London derby.
Yeah,
right? It's fucking Brentford versus Spurs. No one's
that's what
no one cares. Brentford v Palace. Who cares? It's a London derby. Well, yes, London's massive. There's about fucking 15 teams in London. There's going to be a derby every fucking week. And I agree with that. That annoys me as well. But there's only a certain amount of derbies, and there's definitely big rivalries. And Palace Brighton's a big rivalry, and that's why that win last week for Palace is big. It's very big for them. They're unbeaten in the last 5. It looks like they're starting to find a bit of form again, and that's why I think sometimes, and I have this argument all the time, the timing of football matches is important. Liverpool went to Palace when they were in dire straits and won 1-0, and I would not want to go to Selhurst Park now. But I was happy to go last time. It's a bit
I wasn't happy to go last time either.
Yeah. But look at the first game of the season. City go to Chelsea and beat them 2-0. Do City go to Chelsea and beat them 2-0 now? That's why timing of games is important. We've got to go to the bridge in a few months, and I don't want to go. City went there on the first kind of day. Do you know what I mean? So I think Arsenal, I don't think they're winning. I really don't think they can win.
I don't think so. I think that's a point. I honestly think this one as well. Everton, Chelsea, going, especially because it's away. I almost feel like, man, Everton can get something out of this. Which if these games end up being point losses, it really helps us out in terms of morale going into the Spurs game. Because I've
always said
Chelsea lose points. I think
I've always said Chelsea were a good team. Sorry, Everton were a good team. I always thought Everton were really good. Nah, in a serious though, I don't think they can win this game. I'm not being like. I think Chelsea going to Everton on the back of them being taken over. That's like a big weight lifted off their shoulders. The first game over with the new owners there. Going to Goodison Park, which is also notoriously a hard place to go. Playing for those set pieces. I also think their team, Chelsea's team, are not a big team physically. I think Diassi's a really big boy at the back, but I don't think he'll play. I thought Colwell looks like a bit of a unit, but I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know who's going to play left back. He might do Gusto left back because Ben Chilwell's suspended. And if you look at the front four of Jackson, looks like a bit of a player, but he looks kind of slight. And I just think if you've got Tarkowski, Brandtwaite, Calvert-Lewin's unbelievable in the air. I just think they could really beat them on set pieces. And I also don't fancy the keeper coming out for corners and free kicks. I just don't fancy him. I just think he'll get muscled off the ball. And
honestly, that's probably their weakest link, right? I mean, like Derek says, Chelsea is going to pepper them with shots. One thing that Chelsea has as a strength right now is their midfield, right? Like Caicedo, like Enzo and Lavia. Yeah. Like that's what their strength is. The thing is, Everton does not play in midfield. No. I mean, Sean Dyche does not play midfield football. So it's just going to be constant long balls and balls into the box and stuff like that. And I think Chelsea will struggle with that. They're going to try to go at them at set pieces. They're going to try to earn set pieces. It's the Sean Dyche way of football, which I think is very anti-Chelsea of all teams.
Yes, and I also think Everton have kept 3 clean sheets of the last 4, I think. Like, Everton don't concede, you know. Like, Everton, they went to United and it was a bit of an anomaly. They lost 4-0. But they drew with Brentford 0-0. They beat Wolves 4-0. They drew with West Ham 0-0. They only lost 1-0 to Southampton, and that's a bad result. That sticks out like a sore thumb. But they don't concede many, and I just think the way Dyche, again, going back to the Liverpool game, styles make fights, and I think the style of Everton could really be troubling for Chelsea. Too. I really do. They've got Mangala on the pitch, the centre mid. He's been really good for Everton. I don't think Chelsea win. I think if you go there to Stamford Bridge, go to Goodison Park and win comfortably, I really think that could be like, okay, we need to start taking you seriously. But I actually think Everton will win, and then I don't need to take them seriously anymore because of that keeper in the back 5.
I'm hoping, I really, both those games, I really think we can get something out. There are some weeks you go into and you're like, nothing's going to come out of that. Yeah. But even last week, I was like, man, you don't know. Everton can shut Arsenal out if they defend corner kicks, is what I was saying last week, and then it turned out to be. So, United Bournemouth, does Bournemouth have a surprise in there?
Yes. It's not even a surprise. I don't think.
I guess at this stage, it's not even a surprise.
If Bournemouth didn't beat them, is that a surprise? Like, I'm not being that. Somebody being like the anti.
I'm sure Bournemouth is above them on the table. So,
definitely. I think Bournemouth are like 6th and 7th in the league. I think. Bournemouth, 6th in the league. Bournemouth are 2 points off City.
Yeah.
Bournemouth are tremendous. Bournemouth are really good at footy, and Man United are not good at footy. So, and I also think again the back 3 that they play. United could really help them because I like Semenyo, I like Justin Kluivert, a lot of pace. Yes. You could probably play, if you want to drag Maguire out of that back 3 or Martinez goes a bit haywire, I think they could really punish them on the counter. I really do. And that's why I think these games, I don't think I can, but the only one I can probably guarantee a win is Fulham playing Southampton.
I was going to say somebody who's not good at footy is Southampton.
Yeah. And they've got
they're not going very far. Leicester City Wolves is an interesting one.
How big's that game of football?
Where is Anand? Because I really wanted to ask him about Ruud and what happened last week.
Well, Ruud has been in charge for 3 games and they've conceded 72 shots in 3 games.
Yeah.
So if you're Victor Pereira coming in to Wolves, I don't think you could handpick a better away game to go to because you will get chances. And the one thing that Strand Larson and Kuna do will have shots. So I actually think, again, it's such a tough game to call. I don't know where that's going to go.
I say Wolves get something out of this, actually.
Yeah.
But there's no Cunha because
is he suspended?
Yeah,
he is suspended. So it'll be interesting, but I'm a big fan of their midfield. I like Allen. I like Lamina. I don't know if he's going to be what his plans are, Lamina, to this game, but we'll see. It's an interesting game.
Well, let's end with our game predictions over here. Spurs, Liverpool. What do we got?
I will go 2-0 Liverpool. I just think I would love a professional performance. I do not want Liverpool to be the headlines on the back page on Monday morning. I want Liverpool just to go out there and have a professional game. And I think that's what they'll get. I think we'll basically show that we could be a level above them in a sense. I don't want to be disrespectful because I really like the Spurs team. But styles make fights and styles make games. And I think they're perfect for Liverpool.
I think so. That's why I was going with the too much in special. Actually, I was going to go with the 3-1 because I think they do get a goal.
So before we go, let me ask you, do you think that all the top 4, top 5, I'm going to include City, win this weekend?
No.
Do you think Villa will beat City?
Very good chance. I see that as a 2-2 draw or something like that.
Do you think Palace beat Arsenal? That's what I'm saying. It could be a weekend where all 4 teams might not win.
Yeah. I don't think. No, there's no way all 4 are winning. I don't think so. No. Mind you, Forest is top 4, not City anymore, right? Is it City 5?
Yes, that's the 4th. Yes, to give them the respect.
But no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't think all 4 get 3 points. This is another week that I actually think at least 2 of them are dropping points.
So do you think Chelsea win?
I don't. That's a draw. That's a 0-0, I think.
Okay, and do you think so? You didn't give me the Arsenal Palace answer. Do you think Palace beats Arsenal, or what do you think? What's your score prediction?
Man, I wish, but I see that as a 1-1.
So you've got 3 draws and then a Liverpool win. I'll take that.
I'll take that shit too. Because that'd be yet another weekend. Apart from like the midweek thing there, it'd be another weekend where that wasn't that bad at all.
Exactly. I know. It's another one where you just match Arsenal, match Chelsea. It could be one of them where you're kind of looking, you're going into your game and you're like, this is massive just to kind of capitalize on the other results. This could be really big for Liverpool to win. Again, the timing of the fixture could really work out well. And I actually agree with you, but I think Villa beat City. I do think Palace beats Arsenal, but I think Everton Chelsea draw. I think Palace beats Arsenal.
I mean, those are, man, a lot of good games to watch this weekend. A lot of good games to watch.
What a Christmas it could be, Tim. What a Christmas it could be, my beautiful friend.
And then we're looking at, what do we got afterwards? And we have Leicester City at home.
I'm in Vegas for that, fella. Do you want to come? You coming to Vegas? I'm in Vegas, baby.
I'm actually going to be in Vegas mid-January. So do join us there.
We'll talk about that offline.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you guys Sunday for the pre-match. Enjoy tomorrow's games. And then hopefully we're going to go into Sunday with some people already having lost points. But we'll see you guys for the pre-match. Take care.